Welcome everyone to the Roundtable. Today's gem of discussion, Pulp Fiction, the 1994 classic that left an indelible mark on modern cinema. A glimpse into the film's craft is bound to incite a riveting conversation. Shall we delve into the heart of Tarantino's brainchild?
Absolutely, Hal. Pulp Fiction isn't just a film, it's a cultural lexicon. Its ripple effect across cinema and popular culture is immeasurable.
I couldn't agree more, Izzy. The film not only challenged narrative conventions, but also became a touchstone for the neo-noir aesthetic. It's quite a Shakespearean twist to Hollywood's storytelling.
And Amelia, that reference is spot on. The Bard would applaud, I'd wager. Now, a quarter century later, its ability to spark dialogue is what sets it apart as a masterpiece of our times.
But let's not forget, while we sit under its colossal shadow, to cast a critical eye. Tarantino's puzzle box narrative is as much revolutionary as it is, in some aspects, muddling the waters of cinematic clarity.
An interesting point there, Lenny. The narrative complexity is indeed a double-edged sword. Yet it's that very boldness that advanced the art form, don't you think?
Indeed, Jazz. The nonlinear narrative was a jolt to the system. It seems a natural segue into the heart of our talk. As we navigate through these segments, let's keep in mind the legacy Tarantino has etched into the bedrock of film history.
Amen to that, Hal. Its legacy is as enduring as it is influential, like a piece of art that continues to reveal new facets long after its creator has stepped back.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's delve into the groundbreaking narrative structure of Pulp Fiction. Non-linear is an understatement here. Amelia, could you kick us off with how this relates to literary techniques?
Tarantino's approach is quite reminiscent of Renaissance literature, where nonlinear storytelling was used to offer different perspectives and emphasize the unreliability of a single truth. It invites the audience to piece together the narrative like a puzzle, creating a deeper engagement.
I see what you're getting at, Amelia, and it's a compelling point. The cognitive jigsaw that viewers assemble while watching Pulp Fiction challenges conventional engagement, but it's a double-edged sword. It disorients as much as it captivates.
A valid perspective, Lenny, but isn't challenging the audience part of the film's charm?
The engagement of our mind's faculties certainly enhances the cinematic experience. I would argue that Tarantino wasn't the first to adopt such a structure, but he did bring it into the limelight of mainstream cinema.
And that's the beauty of it, isn't it? He took something historical and made viewers think they were seeing something avant-garde.
Absolutely, Izzy. Though, it's important to remember that nonlinear narratives existed in film long before Pulp Fiction. What Tarantino did was repackage it with a certain flair for the modern audience.
That repackaging brought a certain freshness that can't be ignored. It made people reevaluate storytelling.
I'd like to add that this nonlinear structure imitates how memory works. It's not sequential, it's fragmented, associative. Tarantino captures that essence, and perhaps that's why the film resonates with so many.
But at what point does it stop being clever and start being contrived? There's a thin line between engaging an audience and simply showing off.
Each viewer will have their threshold, Lenny. The method's effectiveness will vary from person to person, but on the whole, Tarantino's nonlinear style is more than a mere gimmick. It's become a hallmark of cinematic innovation.
And yet, he rooted that innovation firmly in the techniques of old narratives, bridging past and present.
Precisely, Amelia. It's a reminder that our storytelling methods are cyclical, reimagined in different eras.
As an idea, it's romantic. But let's not overlook the fact that not everyone will appreciate this cyclical revolution.
Let's delve into the significance of dialogue and pop culture references. Pulp Fiction is nearly Shakespearean in its use of everyday language. Izzy, can you share your perspective on this?
Absolutely, Hal. The script's colloquial dialogue acts as a cultural artifact itself, embodying the essence of the 90s. The way characters discuss burgers or music, it's a slice of life that Tarantino elevates to art.
I'll second that, Izzy. And it's not just the 90s, but he takes us back with allusions to 50s pop culture as well, like the dance contest. It's the revival of a bygone era through conversation.
That's a fair point, Mick. Yet, the dialogue's contemporary touch, like the casual tech talk, mirrors our own technological discussions. It adds this layer of immediacy and relevance, don't you think? I do, jazz. And isn't it interesting how characters debate the meanings of things from TV shows to overseas fast food practices, like we do with technology today?
True, but let's not forget the homage to literature. It has the feel of a dime store novel, snappy and filled with wit. It's almost like Tarantino is winking at us through his characters.
To an extent, Amelia. But isn't that incessant referencing a tad overdone? Sometimes it comes off more showy than substantive.
I must disagree, Lenny. Those references ground us in their world. They validate the characters as real people, enhancing believability, don't you see?
Interesting interplay. Yet, the dialogue goes beyond mere grounding. It's immersive. It pulls us in, doesn't it, Lenny?
I can concede that, Hal. Tarantino does have a knack for making the mundane fascinating. But let's not glorify banter to the point of ignoring the script's occasional overindulgence.
Even if that's the case, Lenny, the genius lies in using that overindulgence to layer the characters. Each line peels back the onion, revealing more than the pulp it's referencing.
And yet, Jazz, despite what seems like trivial chatter, there's thematic weight behind those words. Isn't this a classic case of the medium is the message?
Certainly, Mick. These dialogues become the lifeblood of each scene, offering us a look into the soul of the film. It's not just pulp, it's poetry.
Beautifully said, Amelia. It champions the notion that profound insights often come from the prosaic, the beauty of the everyday.
A thought-provoking point to round off this segment. The dialogue in Pulp Fiction can be as intricate as the wine in a gourmet meal, at times a compliment, at times the main course. Now, let's dive into the rich tapestry of Pulp Fiction's interconnected plot lines and characters. How do you all perceive the intricacies Tarantino employs here?
It's a beautifully chaotic web, Hal. Tarantino doesn't just ask us to follow along, he demands our full attention. Every character is a piece of a larger puzzle. For instance, Butch's storyline appears almost peripheral until it collides with Marcellus's, illustrating this interconnectedness.
To build on Lenny's point, the plot is almost Shakespearean. Think Twelfth Night, or as the French say, La Nuit des Rois. Characters weaving in and out of one another's lives, the hidden connections. It's a device that's as old as storytelling itself, yet feels so fresh here.
Lenny, that's indeed an apt observation, and a nimble hearkening to classic literature, Amelia. Make your historical perspective would be valuable here.
Well, what strikes me, Hal, is Tarantino's nod to chivalric romance, how actions ripple through the narrative. Take Butch saving Marcellus. It's a modern-day act of knightly honor affecting the path of all characters involved. It's historical storytelling with a postmodern twist.
I must interject. It's not just historical, Mick. It's cultural threading. He's reflecting on how in our lives we're often just one degree from a life-changing encounter. Jules and Vincent often unknowingly orbit the same pivotal moments as Butch and Marcellus. It's art imitating life.
That's a rather serendipitous view, Izzy. While poetic, I'd argue it's Tarantino playing God, not so much a reflection of reality. A convenient collision of narratives, rather than a genuine societal mirror.
But isn't that the essence of film, Lenny? To embellish, to enhance? I'd have to disagree with your reduction there.
And let's not forget the technological dimension of this. Tarantino crafts scenes with such acuity that we're engineering our perceptions to piece together the narrative. It's a cerebral exercise as much as it is entertainment.
Jazz, your point about perception engineering is quite telling of our times. But isn't that just a fancier way of discussing good old suspense and intrigue?
True. Suspense is key. Yet, the interconnectedness speaks to our intrinsic search for meaning. We as viewers are detectives, piecing together these characters' lives, searching for a glimpse of our own connective threads in society.
A spirited discourse indeed. Each interaction in the film doubles as a catalyst for change in every character's arc, symbolic yet visceral. A narrative technique as old as time, but fresh in Tarantino's hands. The role of violence in Pulp Fiction isn't just for shock value, it's almost an art form. Tarantino elevates it beyond the visceral reaction it provokes.
I have to agree, Hal. The way Pulp Fiction aestheticizes violence, it's reminiscent of Baroque painting. There's a certain grandeur to it. But I can't help but wonder if this glorifies a violent lifestyle. Izzy, you've nailed it with the art comparison, yet let's not forget the film's context. The 90s were a time when we were desensitized to violence in media. Tarantino simply mirrored society's numbness to brutality.
That's an interesting perspective, Jazz. But I view it as a historical trope. If you look back, even the ancient Greeks didn't shy away from portraying violence. It's a reflection on humanity's dark side.
Well, I'm thinking it's a bit more complex than simply reflecting society. Tarantino invites us to question the violence. He doesn't just present it, he makes us complicit in it, enjoying the thrill of the action.
To Lenny's point, there is almost a Shakespearean confliction within us when we watch it. We're repulsed yet fascinated. Tarantino toys with our senses, and the violence becomes poetic justice in the tale's context.
It's true, Amelia. And the aestheticization you mentioned, it points out our complex relationship with violence as a society. Are we endorsing it by watching, enjoying, or are we experiencing a safe catharsis? Jazz, I think it's exactly that duality that Tarantino exploits so well. The safe space of the cinema allows us to explore these primal instincts without actual consequences.
Yes, the cathartic argument holds water. But in cinema, mustn't we be careful not to blend the line too far, where the representation of violence starts to numb us to its real-world impact?
Absolutely, Hal. There's a risk of trivializing the gravitas of violence. And while I appreciate Tarantino's stylistic nod to the past, I sometimes question if we're learning from it or simply being entertained by it.
Entertainment. That's the key word. We shouldn't forget that Pulp Fiction is entertainment, and Tarantino's just pushing the envelope, as artists have done throughout history.
Even so, that envelope pushing sparks conversations like this. It's what makes Pulp Fiction perpetually relevant, irrespective of the era. The violence is its language, and we're still keen to understand it.
And therein lies the genius, doesn't it? We're not just passive viewers, we're interpretative participants, deciphering the motive behind each staged act of violence.
Exactly. The dialogue continues because of his choice to stylize violence. It keeps the film's pulse alive. Whether we agree with its portrayal or not, it ensures that Pulp Fiction remains timeless in its controversy. As we venture into segment 5, let's consider the richness of Tarantino's homage to classic cinema in Pulp Fiction. Amelia, your insights into Renaissance artistry have always been enlightening. Could you start us off on how you see this artistry reflected in Tarantino's work?
Certainly, Hal. There's a deliberate pastiche in Pulp Fiction that feels akin to a Renaissance painting. The dance scene between Travolta and Thurman, for instance, is a direct nod to the smooth, stylish moves of classic Hollywood musicals. It's as if Tarantino is using the film canvas to pay respect to the grandeur of historical art pieces.
I must interject, Amelia. While I agree with the homage aspect, let's not over-romanticize it. The scene stands out, but it's a lively reproduction, not exactly a piece of Renaissance artistry.
Well, Lenny, that might be too harsh. I actually think Amelia is onto something. Tarantino's approach is like a collage of cinematic history. Every small reference, every homage, it builds into something greater, a tribute to the art of filmmaking itself.
Yes, and extrapolating from Izzy's point, it's the allusions to classic Hollywood genres, the crime dramas, the film noirs, that Tarantino stitches into his narrative fabric, giving the film a sort of timeless quality.
And those genres themselves were reflections of their era, much as Pulp Fiction is a reflection of the 90s.
Respectfully, the way I see it, Tarantino isn't just about reflection. He's recontextualizing genre conventions within a modern frame. Consequently, they become more than just homage. They become reinvented through a 90s perspective.
Remarkable point, Jazz. That recontextualization, much like sampling in hip-hop music, creates a dialogue with the past, allowing older art forms to breathe and evolve in a modern landscape.
Precisely. It brings new life to classic forms, plugging them into cultural conversations happening now, or then in the case of the 90s.
Let's not forget, though, the cinematic techniques reminiscent of earlier filmmakers Tarantino admired. Take the long, uninterrupted shots, for example. Hal. They're distinctly reminiscent of Hitchcock or even Orson Welles, don't you think?
Indeed, Mick. And these techniques are not used merely as homage, but as a means to immerse the audience, trapping us within his story just as effectively as the suspense masters of yesteryear.
An interesting perspective, Hal, but sometimes Tarantino's indulgence in the past feels less like immersion and more like grandstanding. Given it's clever, but is it always necessary to the narrative?
Ah, but Lenny, the beauty of art lies in its unnecessary necessity. Tarantino's film dances between eras of filmmaking, celebrating the old with the same reverence we give to masters in art galleries.
A heated yet respectful exchange, as always. The lines between homage, reinvention, and indulgence are indeed blurred in Tarantino's hands, much to our delight or dismay. Pulp Fiction. A MacGuffin is traditionally an object or device that the protagonists are pursuing, which serves to drive the plot forward. In this film, the briefcase is the perfect example. Mick, could you start us off with your historical perspective on the MacGuffin in storytelling?
All right. Since the days of early narrative, there has always been a MacGuffin. It's that elusive holy grail, something that propels the characters and thus the story forward. In Pulp Fiction, the mystery of the briefcase is a classic MacGuffin, yet it's handled in a refreshingly ambiguous way, which I think is a nod to classic film noir.
I have to jump in here, Mick. From a technologist's standpoint, the MacGuffin does more than move the plot. It's a narrative catalyst that sparks character development. The briefcase isn't just a plot device. It's a technological Pandora's box, symbolizing potential, whether it's danger, wealth, or power, unlocking layers within each character. Jazz, I see your point, but let's talk effectiveness. Tarantino effectively turned the briefcase into a central theme of its own, a modern-day totem that each character venerates. Yet the contents remain unknown, making it somewhat of a storytelling risk. Does it truly drive the film's themes, or is it a missed opportunity for deeper exploration?
Izzy, that's an excellent point, but I'd argue that the mystery is precisely what makes it so effective. It becomes whatever the viewer imagines it to be. It's a masterstroke in engagement. Bring people to the edge, but let them fill the gap with their own ideas.
If I may add, there's a beautiful symmetry here with Renaissance art, where the unseen is often more potent than the visible. The lack of a visible MacGuffin prompts a tapestry of interpretations as rich and varied as any classical piece. Tarantino might not give us much, but that space is where the magic happens.
Amelia, while I agree that mystery has its charm, let's not romanticize it excessively. The use of the MacGuffin here potentially borders on lazy storytelling. It's the narrative equivalent of a blank canvas. Sure, it invites speculation, but it also eschews responsibility for conveying a clear message.
Lenny, skepticism can be healthy, yet I believe the consensus here leans towards the MacGuffin's success in Pulp Fiction. It initiates more profound questions and conversations, which is a hallmark of enduring art. Shall we explore the briefcase's symbolism in our next segment? All right, let's delve into segment 7, the enigma wrapped in a conundrum, the briefcase. Its symbolism has spurred countless theories. Lenny, your skeptical perspective is always enlightening. Challenge us.
I will, Hal. See, I find that viewers often overreach with symbolism, seeing depth where there's none. The briefcase is a classic MacGuffin. It's important to the characters, but irrelevant to us. It's a shiny plot device, nothing more.
Oh, Lenny, I must disagree. The briefcase is a treasure trove of literary illusion. It's Pandora's box. It's the Holy Grail. It's a vessel for our desires and reflects our personal longings. It's Tarantino challenging us to ask, what is our briefcase?
Well said, Amelia. And from a historical standpoint, ancient relics have sparked wars, inspired quests. The briefcase resonates because it's an artifact imbued with modern mythology. It stirs something primal in us.
It's fascinating, Mick, how such a simple object can ignite our collective imaginations. But let's not forget the briefcase's role from a technological point of view. It's the film's nucleus, replete with potential energy to drive the narrative forward. Jazz, I like that energy idea, but let me weave a cultural thread here. The briefcase could symbolize the veil of capitalism, and opening it reveals the soul of American culture: greed, mystery, pulp.
Izzy, that's a fascinating take, but it sounds like you're romanticizing a prop. Theories abound, yet none stick convincingly, because maybe, just maybe, there's really nothing to it.
Lenny, with respect, I think you're missing out on the beauty of interpretation. It's art, not an equation. The briefcase doesn't need to have a conclusive meaning.
I find myself torn. As a relic, it carries the weight of our collective history, the luster of ages past. Tarantino has bottled that allure.
Hal, you're onto something there. The briefcase's true genius lies in its vagueness. It compels us to project onto it, to search for meaning. It's a mirror reflecting our innermost thoughts.
Agreed, Mick. That ambiguity is why it captivates us technologically and philosophically. It's Schrodinger's briefcase, if you will. It contains everything and nothing until we open it.
All right, perhaps there's a merit in embracing its mystique, but the skeptic in me maintains it's just a well-executed gimmick.
A gimmick that has captivated audiences for decades. That's no easy feat, so maybe it deserves more credit, Lenny.
Absolutely, Amelia. And as a cultural artifact, it succeeds because it fosters this kind of intense discussion, turning a mere object into a puzzle that endures.
I see we could debate this for hours, but let's take these rich thoughts with us as we move on. There's a unique brilliance in the way that Briefcase remains, after all these years, a veiled specter haunting Pulp Fiction's legacy. Let's pivot now to the film's character archetypes. Quentin Tarantino is known for turning established tropes on their head. Izzy, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Absolutely, Hal. Tarantino masterfully subverts the expected stereotypes, and I'm particularly drawn to Jules's character. He starts as the quintessential tough Black American gangster, but by the end, he's almost a sage seeking redemption, a refreshing depth that defies the stereotype.
I commend that observation, Izzy. Jules's unexpected shift questions our cultural perceptions. It challenges the audience to reconsider preconceived notions about race and identity rooted in cinema.
I agree, Mick, and broader than just Jules. The whole cast challenges typecasts. Think of Butch, the boxer, not your average brute. There's a tenderness in him, especially in scenes with Fabienne, showing a complex human rather than a one-dimensional archetype.
Yes, Jazz and Tarantino's characters, they echo those of Chaucer's Canterbury Tales or Boccaccio's Decameron, where the archetypes start familiar but become nuanced, offering us a rich mosaic of humanity.
Still, while I appreciate the subversions, I think we're giving Tarantino too much credit. Stereotypes themselves are easy targets for subversion and don't necessarily lead to a substantial shift in perception. One film isn't going to change societal archetypes.
Lenny, I must interject. While one film alone may not shift societal archetypes, it's films like these that spark the conversations that lead to change. They echo through culture.
That's a powerful point, Izzy, and an optimistic view on the power of cinema. Mick, do you think these character reversals impact our cultural perceptions in any lasting way?
Indeed, Hal, they do. When enough films replicate this pattern, it creates a cumulative effect that can shift cultural consciousness. Izzy's right. The conversation has to start somewhere.
What we've witnessed with Tarantino's work is the beginning of a narrative evolution. It nudges the zeitgeist, even if just subtly, but it's an invaluable nudge nonetheless.
And each viewing can offer a new perspective, a beauty in literature and film that's always evolving. Tarantino knows this and plays with it deliberately.
As with all art forms, interpretations are bound to evolve over time, and Tarantino's characters are particularly ripe for this ongoing analysis. It's the sign of a vibrant work, after all. The Pulp Fiction soundtrack is as iconic as the film itself. Each track feels meticulously chosen to reflect the scene's energy. It's one of the finer examples of how music in a film can amplify the narrative. Would you agree, Izzy?
Absolutely, Hal. The soundtrack isn't just background noise. It's a character of its own. Take the dance scene at Jackrabbit Slim's. The music there creates a timeless bubble that envelops the characters and the audience.
I might jump in here. While I do appreciate the craft, I think the choice of music can sometimes overshadow the scene. There are moments where the tracks invite nostalgia that could distract from the narrative.
But Lenny, isn't that the whole point? The music induces nostalgia and connects us to these almost archetypal moments in film history. It's brilliantly integrated. I must side with Izzy here. Plus, the music serves as an anchor through the nonlinear storyline. It's a tool for Tarantino to signal shifts in tone and guide our emotional responses.
Good points all round. There's an artful blend of visual and auditory storytelling that Tarantino achieves with this soundtrack. It's baroque in its detail and rich with meaning, adding layers of depth one might miss on the first viewing.
Let's not overlook the variety of genres either. You've got surf, soul, rock, all coming together to encapsulate that 90s era blend of reverence and irreverence. Jazz and rock were revolutionary in their times, much like Pulp Fiction was for cinema.
The soundtrack does mirror the film's eclecticism, Mick. Now, Lenny, do you have a particular scene where you believe the music choice could have been more subdued?
The opening credits come to mind. The surf rock is bold, and yes, it's a statement, but I can't help feeling it sets a tone that's slightly at odds with what follows.
Yet that's the genius, Lenny. It's a signal to viewers that this film defies conventional interpretations, beginning with that jarring juxtaposition.
And it's those mixtures, those unexpected pairs that make Pulp Fiction so memorable. The soundtrack and film are like a dance, each step calculated to evoke something visceral.
Certainly, the soundtrack is another thread in the rich tapestry of Pulp Fiction. It has indeed created a visceral legacy, much like the film itself. Segment 10 dives into Quentin Tarantino's distinct directorial style and its reverberations throughout 90s cinema. His brash and innovative techniques were impossible to ignore. Amelia, could you share your perspective on Tarantino's romanticism and his adherence to cinematic traditions?
I appreciate the initiation, Hal. Tarantino's filmmaking is indeed a deeply ingrained love letter to the history of this art form. His nostalgic nod to genres spanning from spaghetti westerns to blaxploitation films is interwoven with a fresh, edgy narrative approach. For instance, the dance scene in Pulp Fiction evokes the golden age of Hollywood musicals, yet it's uniquely modern. It's a contradiction that he's marvelously made into his signature.
Quintessential observation, Amelia. Yet his style did more than revive past traditions. It ushered in an era where technical editing, like rapid cuts and mixed media formats, aligned perfectly with the emerging digital era. The 90s were all about new technologies reshaping our world, and Tarantino harnessed that in his storytelling.
That's a fair point, Jazz. However, while he was technologically engaged, I'd argue his flair was also a cultural commentary. Pulp Fiction echoed the social movements of a decade marked by conflict, irony, and a quest for identity, and Tarantino's characters were the perfect vehicles for that expression. The film certainly embodies the Gen X ethos.
A valid perspective there, Mick. But on the note of cultural impact, I've often wrestled with how Tarantino's style influenced the representation of minority groups, particularly how some people have misconstrued his creative choices as perpetuating stereotypes rather than critiquing or subverting them.
Izzy, I'm glad you brought that up. Tarantino's style is indeed a double-edged sword. While innovative, it's sometimes read as irreverent, and that complicates our cultural readings. His direction paved the way for a more cavalier approach to material, which, while not always tasteful, sparked conversation and reflection about societal issues.
It seems Tarantino's influence on 90s cinema brings to light an amalgamation of advancing technology, socio-political introspection, and a resurgence of classic cinema through a modern lens. We may find his approach controversial at times, but it's undeniably impactful. Thank you all for this vigorous discussion. As we approach the end of our discussion, it's time for us to reflect on the legacy of Pulp Fiction. Surely, it's a film that has etched itself into the annals of cinema history with its bold narrative and stylistic choices. Can I have your final thoughts on its standing?
Pulp Fiction is nothing short of a Renaissance painting in motion, the script a Shakespearean tapestry woven through the modern age. Its impact is undeniable, a benchmark of intertextuality and homage in film.
Indeed, Amelia, your literary parallels are apt. Pulp Fiction brought the pulp magazine structure to the silver screen, providing a gritty counterpoint to the polished narratives of yore. Its contribution in marrying high and low culture is revolutionary.
I must jump in here and say that while its fusion of genres is commendable, it's the technological foresight Tarantino employed, a nonlinear narrative mirroring our hyperlink reality, that truly entrenched its place in cinematic history. Jazz, I see your point, but let's not downplay the film's depiction of subverted archetypes and its cultural resonance, especially within the Black community. Tarantino challenged viewers with Jules's transformation, juxtaposing the grotesque and the divine. It's this boldness in characters that has set a new bar.
Characters indeed, Izzy. Yet, let's be skeptical about the extent of its originality. Tarantino borrowed heavily from the past. While it reshaped 90s cinema through its skilled pastiche, the film is not without its anachronisms.
It's clear that Tarantino's work has sparked varied yet passionate responses from us all. I am fascinated by how deeply you've all delved into the film's multi-dimensional tapestry. It's the mark of truly enduring art, wouldn't you agree?
Without question, Hal, and in doing so, it continues to inspire a new generation of filmmakers to break from convention. Remarkable, I say.
Absolutely. And let's not forget that it's a film that's always in conversation with its audience, challenging us to redefine our notions of cinema.
It's a historian's delight, encapsulating a zeitgeist that still echoes today.
Its enduring impact, from my perspective, lies in the way it invites us to reconsider the boundaries of technology and storytelling in our ever-evolving digital age.
Contentious as it is, the film's enduring appeal is the conversation it continues to provoke, even amongst us, years later.
Indeed, our lively discourse today is a testament to its lasting influence. I must thank you all for not only your insights, but for the vigor with which you've defended them. It has truly been a profound journey revisiting Pulp Fiction with you. Shall we conclude with an acknowledgement of its undimmed potency in the hearts and minds of cineasts everywhere?
Most fittingly said, Hal. A resounding bravo to Tarantino and his masterpiece.
Echoing that bravo, and may it continue to inspire and provoke for decades to come.
Hear, hear. The film is a crucial chapter in the narrative of cinema.
I look forward to witnessing its continued impact on the intersection of film and technology.
And let's be eager to see which aspects stand the test of time and which become relics of our past conversations.
Absolutely. With that, let's close this chapter of our discussion on Pulp Fiction, a film that surely won't fade from memory anytime soon. Thank you all for your passionate contributions.